Kingsley Amayo. Hello, Kingsley.
Hi, Charles.
Well, good to hear from you again. Well, between you and I, it's been a while. But then, what's
It's
the
been,
view from your side like?
well, the general sense here is people are really very anxious. They're waiting for the result. They want to know who the next president is. They're really very concerned about delays in some areas. They basically feel like at this point, out from all areas. So,
Hello, Kingsley.
I can hear you, Charles.
Go ahead.
Yeah, I'm saying that the general sense here is a lot of people are really anxious. They're waiting expectantly for the results to be completed. They've seen the Independent National Electoral Commission chairman say that give this new results that were given, and that they understand that tomorrow morning at 10 a.m. Nigerian time, it's going to continue. They're hoping that at that time, all of the results are going to be ready and available, and they would know who their new president is. They're also very concerned about the pockets of incidents that happened in Nigeria with regards to, like card readers issues, delayed accreditations on Saturday. Just quite a number of issues for many Nigerians here in New York.
Well,
but now they understand that those are past issues, and they're hoping that in the coming days, like in the next few hours, they would know who their next president is.
Are there any concerns at all about the fact that not all the results have come in? I mean, the delay in announcing all the results. Are there any concerns about that as well?
Absolutely. That's one of the key concerns for a lot of these people. They feel like some of these, that the results from most of these areas should be in by now. They feel like this delay is unacceptable, that INEC has taken its time to actually prepare for this election, and they should be having this kind of delays at this point. For some of them, they're like 4 years is actually enough to conduct a free, fair, and hitch-free election. So at this point, they, of course, I would say that a number of them are divided on whether INEC has done well in the election. Some say yes, INEC has been very good in terms of the way it has managed its shortcomings with regards to technical hitches of the card readers, with regards to pockets of violence in some areas. But others are saying, well, they've had enough time, ample time to actually prepare for this election. There's absolutely no excuse whatsoever to have this kind of delays, and especially in comparisons with like electoral processes here in the U.S. This is really expedited, and so at this point, they think that the delays are unacceptable.
And I'm sure we must have also seen the figures. It's not just about waiting until the final results are announced. We also, or you guys also must have seen the election figures. Is anybody talking about these ones as well, as far as the numbers are concerned?
Well, that's the thing. We've been following closely. We've been watching, and we've seen the figures, which is quite encouraging to see that these figures are being released. But what's really important in the end is who is going to be the next president, and what's going to happen in the end. That's really the big thing for a lot of these people here. So, it's barely half of the states in the country that have been announced. And at this point, it really doesn't have any major bearing on who the next leader is. Of course, you would also realize that many Nigerians in diaspora, especially here in New York, do not have any say with regards to the election. But they think they have a major stake in the way that the country is governed, because in the end, most of them are hoping to come back home. And that's a key thing for them. If the country is stable, if most of the basic amenities that they enjoy here in the States, for example, are available, they're hoping that they can come back home as well. So they, in a way of speaking, they do have a stake in the election. So they're watching closely. And at this point, they're very unsatisfied with the way things are going.
Okay, Kingsley, are Nigerians living abroad still interested in voting? And sad they couldn't vote this year.
Well, that's been a major issue. It's not just here in the U.S., not just here in New York as well. Nigerians in diaspora all over, whether in South Africa, Australia, wherever, they're hoping to be able to vote in the election. And let me speak for America, for example. The Diaspora Association have gotten together and they've decided to say, well, there should be a law that wouldn't allow Nigerians outside the country to be able to vote. But up till now, there's been a major stumbling block in achieving that feat. So for them, they're hoping that a day will come and they will be able to actually partake in the election and vote, and their votes can also count, and they can have a voice in who becomes the leader of their country. But at this moment, they do not have that. They do not have that privilege or opportunity, as the case may be. What they can do is hope that the process is transparent, that the process is, very fair, free and fair at this moment.
Now, Kingsley, the two major political parties have taken advantage of the interest that Nigerians in the diaspora have on the political process, and we've seen some of them actually have, if you like, satellite branches of their parties with membership from members of the diaspora. What sort of form has the activities what sort of form have the activities taken in terms of just the participation in the election process outside voting, which of course they cannot do legitimately right now?
Well, I think if you're seeing a lot of those activities, it was basically to garner some kind of support. It was to build support for their political parties and for the different independent candidates who were involved in some of this campaign. So it was nothing more than a campaign. It was, if you look at it, it's sort of like trying to have, they're hoping that some of these activities will have like a ripple effect. So they come here, say in the U.S. or maybe they're in the U.K., they have political rallies and they talk to a number of these people. They're hoping that these people can reach folks that they know back home, and then they can help build bigger support, or as the case may be, like more solid support for their ambitions to take up those political positions. So it's really nothing more than a campaign that they've been engaging in and trying to mobilize people here in the U.S. and maybe in other parts of the world.
Well, they do not have the opportunity or maybe the right to vote as of yet. But I would like to draw your attention to some incident, that happened when General Buhari visited the United Kingdom before the elections. Of course, you had this level of participating people coming out to demonstrate for or against General Buhari. Now, for the Nigerians in the United States and maybe in New York, what has been the level of participation in the country's politics, despite the fact that they do not yet have the franchise to vote?
Well, like I stated, at this point, they really do not have, of course, we've mentioned that over and over again, they don't have the opportunity to partake in the elections. So what they can do is Nigerians have broken into several groups, into several associations, hoping that in the coming months and years, they can rally to make sure that Nigerians in diaspora can vote. So really, that's really a big thing for a lot of these Nigerians. They're hoping that they can make that happen. At this point, it's really nothing that they can do except just watch and also to mobilize and say, well, this is who we can support. In a way, they can try to support people and come back home and help with campaigns with regards to the candidates that they really do support. But beyond that, it's really nothing that they can do at this point. And I don't see any major activity going on around here in New York, for example, with regards to this election. Just looking up to the polling process, when the polling process began on Saturday, it's been really no major activity except that these people are really watching and they're, raising their voices with regards to who becomes the next president and hoping that the electoral process is free and fair. And of course, you also realize that beyond Nigerians in diaspora watching, the international community has a major stake in whether the election is free, transparent, and fair in Nigeria. So for a lot of these people, it sort of rubs off if you look at the way that, in terms of like our reputation here in New York, for example, if the election doesn't go well, little things can rub off and cause stigma. And a lot of people are really concerned about that. They're hoping that the image of the country can, be looked on with some kind of favor and looked on with the fact that we're growing as a country, not just in terms of building social infrastructure and developing socially, but also in terms of our electoral process. So a lot of Nigerians, all of these things sort of come together to give them concern, and that's the reason why everyone has been watching so keenly at the electoral process. Since Saturday, I can tell you very strongly that a lot of people have been watching, that hoping that the electoral process is free and transparent. And we've heard stories and seen reports. There have been ample cases and reports of underage voting, and that's been like a major concern to a lot of these Nigerians here. There have also been pockets of cases, reports that we've seen that security concerns, and that's really giving them concerns as well. And of course, in Rivers, the protest there also was one of the major subjects of discussion for a number of these people. I was at the Nigerian House, and I had an interaction with a number of these Nigerians, and they pointed some of these things out to say, well, people are allowed to protest here in the U.S. They should be allowed to protest in Nigeria as well. The security forces should have like a much, like a very democratic way of dealing with protesters, especially when the protest is peaceful. So these are some of the thoughts of Nigerians here in New York, Charles.
Okay, Kingsley, but we know that the international community is keenly watching. We've seen the President, Barack Obama, sending a direct message to Nigeria and Nigerians concerning these elections. What's the man on the street who is non-Nigerian saying? Is there optimism as far as the outcome of the elections is concerned, that it's going to be free and fair, or is it still, let's wait and see what Nigeria is going to do?
Absolutely. Well, there are two kinds of men on the street here in New York, for example. There's the guy who does not have any interest in African politics or Nigerian politics, and they basically are like, oh, yeah, well, we hope that the best candidate wins. But there's a guy who is very keenly involved in electoral processes. That kind of man on the street would want, a lot of them actually saying that they're hoping that the election is transparent, free, and fair. In the past, we've seen violence, in the elections. A lot of people thought that this election was a lot better than the 2011 elections, for example. There have been no big incidents of violence in places, no major loss of lives, as the case may be. And so for a lot of people, they think that this election, the Independent National Electoral Commission has done quite well in ensuring that this election was very, in some areas, transparent, the way that they've managed the technical difficulties that they've had. So these are some of the feelings that the ordinary man, the average man on the street would have here in New York.
Well, at this point, Kingsley, we'll just have to let you go for the moment. Maybe some of the issues you raised, we'll be discussing them on this forum.